back to Unaware Commentary, the place for Pokemon TCG battle narration that doesn't care about the stats.
Welcome back, trainers, to another exciting Pokemon TCG battle narration. We're catching up with our players as the battle is commencing. Our player 1 on the left with the Ethan Toho mat, our player 2 on the right with the Pokemon Game Corner mat. Our player 2 appears to be going first, having drawn a card, looking at the available options. Looks like a Dark Energy, just going to be attached to that Mega Absol EX in the active position. There's also a Monkey Dory there on the bench. Going to see the playing of an Ultra Ball, discarding a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon and a Boss's Orders, going into the deck to find a Pokemon of choice here. Looks like potentially eyeing up a Yveltal or just looking through the available resources this game, as 6 of those cards from the deck are set aside as prize cards and are not available to our player until knockouts are taken in the game. So just trying to figure out what the optimal lines may be, what Pokemon are going to be available to our player 2. Just taking one more look here, looks like we are eyeing up that Yveltal that we do see in the active position on our player 1's side. Yveltal, a retreat lock Pokemon primarily in the Pokemon TCG, creating difficulties for trainers, and we'll have to see if there are ways around it. We do see a raw Precious Trolley in our player 1's opening hand. You're going to see that Precious Trolley played here, going to be able to fill up the bench with 5 Pokemon of choice and be able to potentially get an attack off of this turn. Looks like it is going to be a Mega Absol EX mirror. It will be interesting to see what the supporting Pokemon are, as there are some different deck lists that have been floating around the TCG. And Mega Absol EX kind of making a run back into the Pokemon TCG Absol box, previously very popular. We're going to see the selection of 2 Monkey Dories, a Mega Autono EX and Mega Absol EX, and a Petrarun EX for flexibility, as that Yveltal in the active position does have a free retreat. Being able to utilize Petrarun to push a Mega Absol or even an Yveltal into the active position and poison it can be an interesting way to be able to put damage counters into play. Mega Autono looks like the supporting Pokemon of choice for our player, as we see a Dark Energy being attached to the Mega Autono, it being promoted to the active position. Looks like we're going to see a Kaleido Waltz here. Our player going to flip 3 coins and be able to search the deck based on the number of heads that are rolled here. Roll 1 is going to be a Tails. Roll 2 here, also a Tails. Do we get a heads here? Do we get any energy? There is a heads. We're going to be able to go into the deck, find 2 basic energy cards and put them into play. Looks like we are selecting 2 Dark Energies, considering placing 1 on the Yveltal and 1 on the Absol, as the Yveltal may be necessary here, as there is not a flexibility card on our player 2's side to be able to move around the Pokemon and get that Yveltal into the active if a Monkey Dory or another Pokemon are stuck by the Yveltal. Yveltal may be an interesting resource available. We did see the drawing of a Mist Energy, going to be a very good card in this matchup, as it will turn off our player 1's ability to use Terminal Period to be able to knock out that Mega Absol should there be 6 damage counters on it. I do not know if our player 1 has Enhanced Hammer in the deck, so this could just make that Mega Absol extra resilient to being able to survive different attacks from the Mega Absol deck of our player 1. It looks like there is a Boss's Orders in our player 1's hand as he was kind of shifting through it. We did see the playing of a Janine's Secret Art by our player 2, going to be able to go into the deck and find 2 Dark Energy, attach them to Dark Pokemon in their way of choice into 2 different ones, 1 energy each, 1 to the Yveltal, 1 to the Mega Absol, going to poison it as it is the active Pokemon. So the Janine's going to demand that it is poisoned as those energies come into play. Attachment for turn did already happen with that Mist Energy, so we will not see that Dark Energy finding its way onto the Monkey Dory. We're just going to see a big Claw of Darkness come out here, dealing 200 damage to that active Mega Autono. The Absol will take a damage from its poison, and through the resolution of Claw of Darkness, we will see a card being taken out of our player 1's hand. A Tome going to be in the hand, going to take 2 of those. So we are just going to take the Boss's Orders out of the hand here. That Mega Autono still in the active position. There is a means of getting it out of the active position, but likely not a way of getting an attack off this turn, as we did not attach 2 energy to the Mega Absol. I know that we want to try to limit the amount of damage being put into play here by our players, as Mega Absol on our player 2 side is going to look to try to utilize Terminal Period as much as possible to take knockouts. Do see the playing of an Ultra Ball, discarding a Munkidori and a Psyduck. Psyduck not going to be necessary in this matchup here, and a third Munkidori unlikely to be a factor unless we saw a bench space open up and an energy find it later in the game. Moving 6 energies across with 2 Munkidoris is typically the plan. It's possible we just see another Collider Walls here, as we're not going to be able to get out of play here. Maybe something like sacrificing the Yveltal is giving up 3 prizes, something that our player 1 thinks that they can come back from, as we do know a Claw of Darkness will still be available on the following turn. It's going to be an interesting play here, especially because we still have to flip 3 coins off the Collider Walls here. You see a Tails, one's off screen, maybe a Heads. We'll have to see if we go into the deck. There was a Heads there. Let's see how many energies we find here. If that roll off of our screen is going to be a Heads, grabbing at least 2 energies here, so likely going to be 4 energies. So that roll off the screen we're going to presume was a Heads, and our players are keeping good track. We're going to find one of those energies finding their way to the Munkidori, a third energy finding its way onto the Absol, considering putting one on the Pecharunt just in case there is going to be an additional attack on a later turn, or if we see it taken out of play potentially or swapped using those transformation tomes. That Mega Autono still in the active position, going to be a 3 prize liability here. There are damage counters on the opposing Mega Absol, but reading the missed energy here, just making sure that those damage counters are not going to be able to be utilized in their way that they typically will to activate the Terminal Period attack on the Mega Absol for our player 1. Our player 2 going to play a Lily's Determination out of the hand, shuffling the hand, and going to draw 8 cards, as no prizes have yet been taken by either of our players in this game. We're going to get to see some additional resources, potentially fill out the rest of the bench, as getting additional Munkidoris into play will be optimal. We did see the attachment of the Dark Energy on this turn, so that'll take our attachment for turn. Because we've seen the Lily's Determination, likely not going to see any additional acceleration, but not going to be as necessary, as we've consistently been able to attach energies on the previous turns. The Janine's Secret Art came through when it needed to earlier in the game to be able to get this Mega Absol up and attacking quickly. No need for anything like an energy switch, with our player going first, being able to take advantage of getting those additional energy attachments. A lot of times going first in the Pokemon TCG can feel like a disadvantage, but when you get ahead enough, it does make a big difference. We do see the Adrenabrain being used to move those poison damage counters over, those 2 damage counters being moved onto the Mega Autono. It was already in range of a Claw of Darkness, but important that we're not letting those damage counters needlessly stack up on our Mega Absol. Mega Autono being knocked out, 3 prize cards being taken by our player 2. The known cards in hand, we do see the Blood Moon Ursaluna being put into the discard pile. May not be trapped there because we saw the transformation tomes being available to our player 1, but going to find its way into the discard pile off of the Claw of Darkness. Draw for the turn is going to be a Night Stretcher. That hand is dead. It does not have any playable cards in it other than maybe benching the Yveltal, but I don't know that that's going to be an optimal option here. We don't have the bosses and orders anymore to be able to trap maybe a Munkidori in the active position, considering maybe the playing of the Night Stretcher to grab an additional Dark Energy to try to Claw of Darkness this turn, but that just puts the necessary damage counters onto our player 2's board for them to be able to Terminal Period back against our player 1 and take those last 3 prizes that would cause them to win the game. Really hard to figure out what the best option is going to be here. We are just going to see a clutch, putting 20 damage counters there. Will go up to 3, as 10 damage was taken from poison between turns, so there will be 30 on, there'll be 40 damage on the active Mega Absol for our player 2, with the poison between plays and clutch dealing 20 damage. Mega Absol not going to be able to retreat out of the active position, but it is just actively taking prizes. So not going to be a huge concern. Just a question here of if there's a means of getting additional damage counters into play. Would it have been advantageous to potentially just promote the Mega Absol and not attack? Just try to play chicken with our player, with the player 2, and force them to potentially have to put damage counters into play without just the ticking up of the Monkey Dory damage with 40 damage in play to work with already. A big hand because of the additional prize cards that were taken and the Lily's Determination last turn, not really requiring a whole lot of extra things. We're going to see a boss's order that's going to pull up the Pokemon EX, going to take away the flexibility of our player 1. Claw of Darkness is going to knock out the Pecharunt after we see an Adrenabrain here, going to move the damage counters onto the Pecharunt. Not necessary to be able to take the knockout, but worth getting those damage counters off of our Mega Absol for the player 2 here. Considering a Claw of Darkness here, going to take the knockout, going to take 2 more prizes. Our player 1 in a tough position as we're going to lose a card here, going to lose the Transformation Tome. Does take 2 of them to be able to do anything. Going to promote the Yveltal here, but I don't know that there is a way out other than promoting the Mega Absol and hoping we are going to see the playing of a Team Rocket's Transceiver here, likely going to go into the deck and find Team Rocket's Petrol, as usually Petrol is the means of finding the Precious Trolley that we saw played earlier in the game. Possible we try to clutch something here, like, or potentially take a knockout. Actually, we could take a knockout with the Mega Absol with Claw of Darkness and not have to leave any damage counters in play. I don't know that it's going to make a huge difference in being able to win the game, but we can't boss's orders. But there are Pokemon catchers in our player 1's deck here, 2 of them available, so we'd be flipping more coins. Not that we haven't flipped enough in this game already from the Kaleidowald's attack, but potentially a way to start taking prize cards and slowly working down our player 2's board, as poison is going to be the primary way to rack up damage counters. So trying to take that Pecharunt off of the board could be a way forward for our player 2 here. Looks like we're considering a Transformation Tome, as if we get through the turn, there's a means of getting an extra one. Only 1 card in hand, so we can't use the Prism Tower to try to find more cards. Grabbing another supporter doesn't do anything. We are searching through the deck. I don't know that we see the Pokemon catcher line available. We're looking at potentially a secondary attacker, something like Moltres. If we grab a Pokepad, Moltres can deal damage, but our player 2 is down to 1 prize, so putting anything else in the active position is just going to lead to knockouts being taken. Taking the Prism Tower here, it is not going to be able to be activated just due to the low number of cards in hand. Team Rocket's Transceiver really not going to make a huge difference here. We do see the promotion of the Absols because it cannot be knocked out next turn by terminal period, so we're going to force out the finding of a boss's orders. Just a passing over 2 Mega Absols staring at each other, the racking up of the additional 30 damage. Is there a boss's orders available, even maybe a Meowth available off of the Ultra Ball in our player 2's hand? But we just see the passing back. Possible our player 2 is aware of whether or not there is a Meowth available or a Meowth in the deck to be able to take a knockout on this turn. Looking at the playing of a Petrol potentially, so boss's orders maybe not going to be the option. Going to have a means of going into the deck to see what's available with the Ultra Ball at the least, or even with the Mega Signal, just to check what cards are going to be available. If there is no Meowth in the deck, then there's no need to try to look for him. We are going to have an Adrenabrain available here. That may just go onto the Yveltal, could go onto the active Mega Absol, as being able to take a knockout on the following turn with terminal period is going to be ideal. Our player 2 does not quite have a line to be able to win the game, but I also see why you don't want to Claw of Darkness the damage into play or onto the Mega Absol, but you do have the Mist Energy, so terminal period is not an option for our player 1. Again, that Mist Energy really coming into play and making a huge impact on the game. Going to be the difference in the deck list that are going to make a big deal. We are going to see a Mega Signal being played to go get a Mega Kangaskhan EX. This is kind of an awkward board state because of the presence of the Mega Absols on both sides. The Mega Kangaskhan does create an interesting wrinkle as it allows for additional cards to be drawn. If we see the promotion of the Yveltal through Subjugating Chains on the Pecharunt EX, the retreat into the Mega Kangaskhan to draw additional cards, look at our player 1 and ask the same question: are you willing to Claw of Darkness more damage into play, knowing that I can just terminal period you back on the next turn and deal more damage to you? Considering what to do here, I do believe that Mega Kangaskhan has found its way into that 5th bench space. We do see the Subjugating Chains pushing the Yveltal forward, making sure we don't lose any damage counters as we are moving our Pokemon around here. No damage counters to be lost because of the Adrenabrains here. Drawing 2 more cards in E-Switch, we can see an additional Adrenabrain on this turn, or could have if there was more damage in play. We did see those 3 damage counters that were previously on the Mega Absol land on the Yveltal earlier in the turn, so not going to be able to see something like a terminal period, as all of the abilities and retreats available to our player 2 have been used. Just a handful of resources to find pretty much anything you could want except for a boss's orders if there isn't a Meowth available. I think potentially the hopes of drawing one off of the runaway draw for the following turn, just to make it easy, take a 1 prize knockout from any of the available resources, being that our player 2 is only on 1 prize after taking a knockout on the Pokemon EX on the previous turn and taking a knockout on the Mega Autono. Just what resources are we wanting for additional things? Seeing the playing of an Ultra Ball, discarding 2 cards going into the deck, we are going to fail it. I do believe we were just checking for available resources, or we are going to thin a Serendipity EX out of the deck, as a Pokemon could be knocked out on this turn should we see something like the drawing of a Pokemon catcher by our player 1. Then more resources could be drawn by Serendipity EXs. Flipped script by our player 2. Just want to be able to make sure we are setting up an endgame board state where all of our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. All Pokemon resources are going to be available to us. Just going to see the pass over again, begging the question, are you willing to put damage in play that can be terminal period back at you with the finding of a dark energy? Are going to see the playing of a Prism Tower to discard 2 cards, draw 1. Looks like the draw of a Mega Kangaskhan, but there's no Pecharunt to be able to move the Yveltal around to make the same play that we saw our player 2 make. It is the only card in hand. Did we just see a pass back over? Just asking the question back and forth, what are you willing to do? How much damage are you willing to do? Do you have the boss's orders? You see a Mist Energy being drawn, so potentially a way of even protecting the Mega Kangaskhan in the active position from the terminal period. It is going to be able to heavily restrict the ability of our player 1 to have any hope in coming back in this game. Could be a bit of more formality here, just trying to thin down. We do see the Petrol for boss's orders for the following turn. So if there is not a means of hand disruption, something like a special red card being drawn off the top by our player 1, or even utilizing Prism Tower with the Mega Kangaskhan that we know is in hand and the top deck to try to find a red card to get rid of the boss's orders that is now in hand, it would be game over regardless of whether or not our player 1's willing to put Claw of Darkness damage into play, considering if there's going to be a need for an attachment for the turn to protect the Mega Kangaskhan. Nope, just going to be a pass over and a do you have it. Do see the Petrol being drawn here, going into the deck potentially to find a special red card and make that boss's orders go away. Do not want to allow our player to just be able to take the game fighting tooth and nail to the very end. Special red card being found and played, that large hand being shuffled and placed on the bottom of the deck, 3 cards are then being drawn. Our player 1 is just shuffling up after the Petrol, potentially just going to see a pass back here. Again, going to ask of our player 2, are you willing to put damage into play? Are you willing to risk that I can take knockouts on your Mega Kangaskhan, on your Pecharunt, on your Monkey Dories without you being able to get away from me? Would only require multiple knockouts, as again we cannot terminal period the Mega Absol with the Mist Energy on it. Considering maybe the Claw of Darkness here, we are going to Claw of Darkness just to see if we could pull a boss's orders out of the hand. We are going to take the Pokegear 3.0. Maybe we would have wanted to take the Luminous Energy, as it just gets attached to the Monkey Dory. Then Pecharunt EX pushes Yveltal forward, retreats, and we get the terminal period damage off. Either way, I do believe the energy may have been the better choice here. It's been a long, tough, grindy game. I do think that is the route here for our player to attach the Prism Energy, not Luminous Energy, Prism Energy to Monkey Dory, push the Yveltal up with the Pecharunt EX's subjugating chains, utilize both Monkey Dories, or just push the Absol up. That makes sense. Poison the Absol, utilize 2 Adrenabrains, move 60 damage over, terminal period, the Mega Absol in the active position, and take a knockout here. Going to take 3 more prizes, 2 prizes than we needed to take in the game. Thank you so much for watching, trainers. We will catch you next time.